Hi there everybody, it's Martin Twycross here with another video short, bringing you practical down-to-earth teachings on mediumship and development without the fluff. So today's video is part of a series I'm doing on children in spirit, and the topic of today's video is complex questions, challenging questions about children in spirit. This is part of a talk that I did for Helping Parents Heal on children in spirit, and whilst most of what I'm talking about specifically relates to children in spirit, there are aspects as well that will apply to your other loved ones in the spirit world. In particular, I want to talk about why did your children pass? Did they know they were going to pass? Did they choose to pass in that way? I also want to speak about what happens to miscarriages and stillbirths, and when does the soul join the embryo or the fetus in the mother's womb. I also want to talk about, can children reincarnate? And I also want to talk about what happens to those who pass through suicide. So those are a few of the complex questions I want to cover in this video. In bringing you this video, I give you my best understanding. I don't claim to be an expert. Much of my own knowledge is based upon the teachings I've received from my guides and helpers in trance. And if what I say resonates with you, do go with it. If it doesn't, feel free to let it go. I don't mind. But if all of that sounds of interest to you, then do stay with me. So now I'm going to come to some big picture or more challenging questions. A question I get often asked is, why did my child die so young? Why did my child die so early, as a baby or in a very young age? And did they choose that? Is that something they chose? Was that part of their soul contract? Did they agree beforehand that they would go in that way? And my simple answer is, I don't know the answers. I'm not God. I'm not the overarching intelligence that is in the universe. And because of that, I cannot easily give people the answers they seek. I can say that the world we live in is not necessarily a fair place. The world we live in is not necessarily a safe place. Accidents happen, problems develop. Someone may be driving a car, a lapse of concentration, crash into another car and take a loved one, or may knock down a child and take their life. These accidents happen. Illnesses happen. Genetics is a game of chance. A rare genetic condition may pop up by chance that creates a challenge that may take a life. There are a multitude of reasons that why people can pass. And did your loved one choose to go in that way? I very much doubt it, if I'm truthful. I'm not somebody who subscribes to the idea of a soul contract where everything that happens in our life from the moment we're born is prescripted. I believe we do not have that degree of written out life story. For me, I believe we come to this earth at a designated time. We come with certain qualities and spiritual qualities and aspects that are here to be expressed. If you wish to call that a contract, you can. We come here with qualities that can be expressed within certain aspects or certain areas of work. We come with abilities to help people, which can be used in multiple avenues. But equally, when we come here, we don't necessarily expect to go before our allotted time. I believe if we were left to run our life's course, we would come at a point and then we would have a fulfilling life, and then there's a window of opportunity where we would leave again. But for many people in this world, children and others who may contract illnesses, may be involved in accidents, may have genetic conditions, for a multitude of reasons, they can pass. And we live in an imperfect world, and that imperfection, sadly, can mean we lose loved ones. That imperfection sadly means that our loved ones can be taken away from us through no fault of theirs or our own. I've seen some mediums work where they will tell somebody comes to them for a sitting, they've lost a child, and they will tell them, it was your child's choice to go and leave you. It was your child's choice to come for this limited time and to leave you at this point and to leave you with this grief and pain. And that can be very difficult, can be very challenging. And I don't like that. I don't subscribe to that. I would never encourage any student ever to do that. Because I don't believe it would ever be the child's choice to leave you, ever. The child may have to leave through circumstances, but it would never be their choice. They have that connection with us. They have that love with us. They would want to stay. They would not want to leave you. They would not want to create pain for their loved ones here. Do they know beforehand that they could pass? Now, in some circumstances, they do, I believe. Now, and I'll clarify what I mean by this. In the rare circumstance where somebody in the family, there's a genetic condition whereby, say there was a 25% chance they would get this condition, and if they did, it would mean an early transition to the spirit world. It means they would not last upon the earth for many years. So there's a risk that they go. Then I believe that the soul that comes forward, and I believe that we talk about old souls and young souls, and when someone comes forward in the spirit world, they may be an old soul with a lot of developed spiritual qualities within them. So I think if there's a potential they may have to leave early, the soul that comes forward will be capable of dealing with that, capable of understanding that if it's pre-known before they come in that scenario. That is my understanding. That, for example, I've worked with children who've come through who have life-limiting conditions, and the parents say they were amazing, they were wise beyond their years, and they exuded love, and they dealt with it amazingly. We were the ones who all fell to pieces with what was happening. They coped amazingly with it. And in that scenario, I believe the child is an old soul who has the knowledge, who has the understanding to cope with what life is presenting, but still to be a part of our lives and still to enrich our lives. I want to now talk briefly a little bit about miscarriages and stillborn babies, and also at what point does the soul come forward from the spirit world to join the embryo or the fetus. Some people will teach you that the soul from spirit comes forward at the point of conception. Other people will teach you that it will wait for a while and then come forward. And some people teach that the soul comes forward at the moment of birth. Now, I've looked at the statistics on a few sites, and forgive me if you know more about the statistics than I do, because I don't profess ever to be an expert. But it is said that 1 in 3 of all pregnancies results in a miscarriage, and that a lot of those are undetected as well. If it was detected pregnancies, it would be 1 in 5. So if you were a soul waiting to come to earth, to be born to the earth, to take an earthly life, if you came at the point of conception, then there's a 66% chance that you would be born, and a 33% chance you would be returning back to the spirit world. After about the 12th week, my understanding from looking at the statistics is that about 98% of all children will survive. So what it means for a soul coming forward is that if they come forward at the 12-week mark, then there would be a 98% chance of survival for them to be born into this world. So some people teach, as I say, it's conception. I don't personally believe that. A lot of mediums teach that it's at a point where the pregnancy becomes stable. It's at a point where the likelihood of the child getting to birth is much, much greater. And that's what I believe. So if you have lost a child with a miscarriage, how do you know if the soul had come forward? And if you feel a significant loss, then generally it's a sign the soul was there. If it doesn't affect you so much, then it may or may not be there. We can't say for sure it wasn't there. But if you feel significant loss, if you feel a great deal of grief, then definitely it was there. So I believe that the soul would come forward at a point when it knows it has a good chance, where the pregnancy hits a point of stability. So it won't be at the moment of conception, but you could argue that from 12 weeks it's pretty good. So from that point onwards, yes. So if a child joins the parent in the womb, but there is a miscarriage or there is a stillbirth, then what happens to that child? Are they allowed to try again? Do they then just continue in the spirit world as if from that age forwards? What happens? And I don't have an easy answer for that, to be truthful. I wish I could tell you definitively. Is reincarnation, returning again for that child, possible? I believe it would be, but would it be something that happened routinely? I don't know. My own guides say that it doesn't need to necessarily happen, but if the child has a desire to come and it doesn't make it the first time, it can try again. Would it necessarily come back to the same family? The chances there become lessened, I believe, but it's not an impossibility. But I do know a lot of mediums who've told people that the child has been born somewhere else in the family, and that can be harmful. So if you were told that the child you lost has been born to your sister, that complicates things, because it's your sister's child, but then you feel as if it's your own child, and then it becomes more complicated in the relationship you have. And Spirit wouldn't really want you to know that. They wouldn't really, it would be far cleaner for the child to continue on where it is. If your child came back again, then can you contact it through a medium? Can you contact it? The answer is yes, you can. You can contact them. And there's an aspect of the soul that still remains within the spirit world. If they are reincarnated or reborn, it's another aspect of the soul that is reborn. If you imagine it to be a little bit like an iceberg, the bit that is above the water, that is the earthly life, maybe 30% to 70% below the water. And it would be another aspect of the part below the water that then comes up. So the part you knew them as still stays in the spirit, so that is intact. So you've got that communication with them, you've got that connection with them, you are never separated. So I know this gets a bit complicated, I do. I can see just how complicated it all gets. So the important part is you're always connected to that child, that it will always be your child. You will always be able to connect with them through a medium, or they will always be around you because of that connection you have. Absolutely. Absolutely. And can children, if you've lost a child, can that child be reincarnated? If you lose a child, say at the age of 5, 10, 15, could they be reincarnated? The answer is it's unlikely they would do so. The answer is that there's so much to experience in the spirit world. There's so many opportunities to gain experience, so many worlds of existence where experience can be gained. There is no need necessarily to come back to the earth. It's only if there was a specific need for a child to come to the earth who didn't make it. Generally, they would want to come back and try again to experience earthly conditions. But once somebody has experienced those conditions, they can still do everything they could do upon the earth in the spirit world, within the worlds within worlds. It's not necessary that they need to come back to the earth. And I don't believe we're on this constant cycle of reincarnation. Our loved ones, when they go to the spirit, they then live their lives within the spirit world. There isn't a need necessarily to say, I need another earthly life and I better get back on the hamster wheel of having an earthly life. I don't personally subscribe to that. And somebody asked a question, I saw it come up in the feed and the chat, about suicide. If somebody takes their own life, then for me, if you take your own life, then you are met with love. You are never judged. And it's an illness. It's a mental illness. It could be a moment of significant mental illness where we just struggle to cope. That person, what they need most is healing. What they need most is love. What they need most is the care and compassion from others within the spirit world, and they will be helped. They will be given all the help, counselling, everything they need in the spirit world to deal with that. Their greatest concern, having worked with many, many people who've come back through me, who've committed suicide, their biggest concern is always the pain and trauma they create for those living. Their biggest concern is always wanting to help the people they've left behind. Their biggest concern is always how the act affects those here. And that's always where their concern is. They always come back to let their loved ones know, I'm well, I'm fine, I'm happy. But I'm concerned that you may not be so happy. So that's what comes forward. So, all experience carries value. Every experience we have upon the earth carries value. The earth is a very unique place because people from all aspects of life are all brought together. There's an amazing amount of lessons we can learn here. So, I may portray the spirit world to be the most beautiful, wonderful place, but it's not without its challenges as well. It's a lot like this world, but different. But the physical world creates its own unique opportunities for experience. So there's a benefit to that. I'm not the divine. I'm not the overarching intelligence. I don't really necessarily understand why we all come here. We are all here. That's when we know we're here. We come here to experience it. We come here because it is helpful to our soul's development. And we may move to other physical worlds at some stage in the future to gain experience there as well. It's said in the spirit world that we end up being drawn to people who are a lot like us. And I don't know about you, but if everyone was a lot like me, I'd probably get quite bored. I enjoy the variety of everyone being different. I enjoy the variety of people having a different opinion to me. I enjoy the variety of getting to understand all sorts of different things. It takes all sorts of people to make up a world. And that is one of the most wonderful benefits of the earth. And when somebody's not nice to you, thank them for it. When somebody pushes your buttons, thank them for it. Because they're helping you. They're helping you to unfold the spiritual qualities of patience, tolerance, understanding, compassion. All those things within us that we need those experiences to grow spiritually. We need those experiences to develop those qualities. If we were perfect, if we were amazing spirit beings, we wouldn't be here. There'd be no need for us to come to the earth. We come here to this earth because there's still work to be done on self. Absolutely. So that's what I wanted to cover. We kind of got through it. I've tried to cover an awful lot today. I've tried to cram a heck of a lot in, and I understand that it might have been a roller coaster to stay with all of the information that I brought. So I hope that a lot of that made sense to you. I know it may be different from what other people say, but I do hope you can take something from it. I do hope that there's aspects of that resonate with you. I do hope that it helps, it heals, it's beneficial. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I do hope that you've found it helpful. I do hope you've got a lot from it. I will post links to the other videos from the Children in Spirit series in the description and the links below. And I'll also post a link to the Helping Parents Heal website. If you enjoyed the video, do hit the like button. Do leave me a comment. Do subscribe to the channel. If you like my teaching style, do check out the other videos that I have on the channel. But I hope that you found this video helpful. I hope you've taken a lot from it, and I look forward to seeing you all again in the next one.